Okay, today we're going to review domain and range of a function. Quick overview on domain and range. Range is the vertical distance a function covers. Domain is the horizontal distance a function covers. So focus on domain. So domain is, like we said, is the horizontal distance that function covers, which is the x values, all the x values for a function. And we can remember it's all the x values because of this lovely face, the xd face. So that is a good reminder that we are looking at the numbers on the x-axis when we are looking for the domain. So what is the domain for this relation? The domain is the x values, so the domain for this relation is going to be all of the x values, which means my domain is 3, 2, negative 1. Now we're given a graph. So what is the domain for a function? We're looking for the domain, therefore we are looking for the x values. Thus I circled this x over here. I circled my x-axis, and I'm also going to highlight all the numbers on the x-axis so I know what numbers to look at when I'm trying to find out my domain. Next, after I've highlighted that, I'm going to look at the lowest number that is on my x-axis that my function reaches and the highest number on my x-axis that my function reaches. So on my x-axis, my function stretches from over here is the lowest point on the x-axis, and over here is the where it ends. So my number that it starts on, my lowest x coordinate for this graph is going to be -6, so which means that A and C are the functions, or are the domains in the running, and the highest number is 8. 8 is where my function ends. There's no x coordinates that go past this 8, and because of that, 8 is the last number in my domain. Therefore, my answer is choice C. Try this one on your own. Okay, now we've talked about domain. Domain was the distance that our function covers long ways. Now let's talk about the distance that our function covers up and down. What is the lowest vertical point and the highest vertical point on our graph? The range is all of the y values for a function. So what is the range for this function? Label the points x and y, and we're going to look at the y coordinates. So my range here is just going to be those y coordinates, 4, 6, and 12. From a graph, my range is, I'm going to find that in the similar way that I found domain. Only this time, because I'm looking for the range, I'm going to be looking at the numbers on my y-axis. Notice I highlighted the numbers on my y-axis, so that way I don't get confused and start writing down these numbers. If you don't have a highlighter, you can circle the numbers on your y-axis. So I'm going to start at the very lowest point that my function goes to, which is right here. There's no other point that is lower than this point on my function. So I'm going to start there, and I'm going to go up until the very highest point my function goes to, which is right here. None of my function, I don't have any function that has y coordinates that are above these points here. So my lower limit of my range is going to be 1, and my upper limit of my range is going to be 5. Therefore, the range of my function is 1 to 5. What is the range of this function? Try this one on your own. Okay. Now we're presented with a function that we need to find the range values when the domain values are these. So all we're going to do here is first, well, we're looking at this function. We know that f of x, that really just means y. So I'm going to cross that out and write y, so that way I know that I'm looking for, that this represents the y coordinate that I'm looking for. And now I want to know when my domain is these numbers, and so domain is x, so I just have to substitute these numbers for x into the function that I'm given. I rewrote y, or the f of x is y, so I know I'm looking for y, and now I'm just going to substitute x for these values and see what y is. So first x value that I substitute is negative 2. Put that in for x. Now I multiply 3 and negative 2, and I get negative 6. Bring down my 2. Then add those, and the first number of my range is negative 4. All right, let's do the second coordinate, negative 1. Write my original equation, substitute negative 1, the domain value, for x, multiply, and add. My second number in my range is negative 1. Let's find the third number in my range. I'm going to substitute this 2, multiply, the third number in my range is 8. Therefore, my range is choice G, negative 4, negative 1, 8. Try this one on your own.